good thing, right? Hey, once you win 10, you retire. My turn.
That's funny.
Good, how are you? Yeah, you too.
The 2017 Mr. Olympia lineup was just crazy, and by crazy we mean crazy entertaining. Let's watch some behind-the-scenes footage from the Mr. Olympia 27 pump-up room, along with thinking back on the most outstanding performers in that competition. Phil Heath. Heath tied Arnold Schwarzenegger's record of 7 Mr. Olympia wins with his victory that Saturday night. As usual, Heath was very confident and sure of himself from the beginning of prejudging on Friday night until the conclusion of the finals on Saturday. He had a tremendous amount of belief in his ability to be the best bodybuilder in the world, and that determination, combined with his awe-inspiring genetics, are an unbeatable combination. Phil had a slam dunk victory at the previous year's Olympia, and his condition in 2017 was nearly as good. His back poses showed the thickness and detail that have allowed him to dominate the biggest contest in bodybuilding 7 times. His only flaw was letting his stomach hang out during prejudging on Friday. Heath's waist has gotten thicker as he continued to get bigger, and he had to keep his midsection under control at every moment on stage. Heath was confident again on Saturday for the finals, and to his credit, was the only bodybuilder in the top 10 who did a well-executed and conceived posing routine. He posed to the theme music from Conan the Barbarian. All the other competitors had somewhat uninspiring music or simply didn't seem to have a choreographed routine planned out for their presentation. That makes a difference. Heath was pushed hard by Big Ramy during the comparisons on Saturday. His hardness and excellent conditioning, along with his professional stage presence and confidence, allowed him to stay comfortably ahead of the massive Egyptian. Heath's win was an emotional one as he realized how special it was to tie the great Schwarzenegger's record of 7 wins. With only one more Sandow needed to tie the record of 8 titles held by Lee Haney and Ronnie Coleman, Heath felt he was young enough to snag the coveted all-time record of 9 Mr. Olympia titles. Big dreams. Mamdou Big Ramy Elspieh. Big Ramy has been a fan favorite at the Mr. Olympia for several years now. The biggest bodybuilder competing at the time, Ramy could step on stage at 300 pounds in ripped condition while standing only 5'9". After placing 4th the previous year, the Egyptian bodybuilder stepped on stage in 2017 with considerably more confidence and improved stage presence. His wide, thick physique challenged Heath, and he appeared to beat the reigning champ in several key mandatory poses. Big Ramy's humble and respectful persona, combined with his jaw-dropping massive physique, had inspired bodybuilding fans around the world to look at him as the man to knock off Phil Heath as the king of bodybuilding. In the end, this wasn't the year for Big Ramy, but he came closer than ever by finishing runner-up Saturday night. Still young at 33 years of age, Big Ramy still had all the potential in the world to pull an upset next year and prevent Heath from winning any more Mr. Olympia titles. William Bonek. One of the most impressive physiques of the weekend was that of William Bonek. Bonek took 5th place in the previous year at the Mr. Olympia and moved into the top 3 in 2017 by displaying one of the thickest and most dense physiques currently competing then. Bonek's only weakness was his height and somewhat narrow structure. However, he makes the most of what he has by packing his physique with rock-hard, dense muscle in great condition. Many spectators thought he belonged in 2nd place as he was in better condition than anyone else on stage and hit his peak perfectly. His 3rd place finish was his best to date, and he was rightfully expected to continue to shock both his competitors and the judges alike with his spectacular physique in the future. Dexter Jackson. Dexter the Blade Jackson also dropped out of his normal top 3 placing at the Mr. Olympia 2017. One of the sport's oldest and most experienced competitors, he was set to celebrate his 48th birthday that year, yet didn't show the typical signs of aging that most bodybuilders display when they get on the other side of 40. Although the Blade was not at his all-time best, he still displayed a physique that had plenty of muscle mass, along with excellent conditioning and symmetry. He devoted all of 2017 to prepare for the Mr. Olympia, and his work ethic and commitment to the sport cannot be questioned. It may just be that time has run out for the 2008 Mr. Olympia winner, and his physique is starting to show the signs of aging now. Sean Roden. After placing runner-up to Heath twice, Roden was considered one of the favorites to win the title. He tried adding some size to his physique this time to knock out the champ, but unfortunately, he sacrificed his traditional sliced condition for the added pounds of muscle. Without his trademark cuts and details, he dropped out of the top 4 for the first time in 3 years. Roden's strengths included his great shape and symmetry, including a tiny waist, shredded abdominals, and all-around flowing musculature that has all the ingredients of a future Mr. Olympia winner. He still had some improvements to make. His back suffered in comparison to his classically developed front-facing poses and his massive quads, but his back looked even weaker in 2017 because of his lack of conditioning. Roden was to recover and improve from his showing that year. He would, after all, need to compete in his normal ripped condition to have any hope of unseating the champ. Brandon Curry. Brandon earned the nickname the Prodigy for his incredible genetic potential, but until 2017 that promise was mostly unrealized. That's all changed. Working with a team over in Kuwait, Curry made improvements to his 5'7" frame, taking the stage at Las Vegas, weighing over 250 pounds. He had great shape with a small waist and big muscle bellies, but his upper body had always dominated his legs in the past. The added muscle mass corrected that. Curry was in top shape in 2017 and made the first call-out at the Mr. Olympia in the prejudging. He could have placed a few notches higher, and no one would have complained. Roly Winklar. Big Roly was the first competitor to pose at the Mr. Olympia 2017 that year, but it didn't start well. Winklar had all the size in the world, including some of the biggest arms ever in the sport, but he appeared to be holding some water when he first came out for prejudging. As he continued to pose, his physique got harder and Winklar started looking more dangerous. On Saturday night, he was much improved as soon as he stepped on stage. His incredible muscle mass was highlighted by a harder condition, and he crawled his way up to a 6th place position. This was Winklar's highest placing in the Olympia to date, and as long as he comes in hard and ripped, he will always place high because of his huge muscle size. Flex Wheeler. The 52-year-old bodybuilding legend made a spirited and impressive return to the stage that Friday night, sporting a well-structured physique that fit well in the classic category. After a long retirement from the stage and health problems that resulted in a kidney transplant, Wheeler, 5'10", 210 pounds, showed he still had the incredible genetics and stage presence that made him a superstar in the 1990s and 2000s. In the classic division, he had the misfortune of coming up against some of the best young talent bodybuilding has seen in some time. Wheeler could only manage a 15th place finish, but that shouldn't dim his accomplishment. After his performance, Wheeler, who had entered the show via a special invitation, gave an inspiring message to the crowd about overcoming obstacles in life to follow your dreams. On that Friday night, he showed how it's done. Chris Bumstead. Despite Ansley's advantages in shape and performance, he faced a tough challenge in Bumstead, fresh from his victory at the Pittsburgh Pro. The Canadian-born Bumstead, coming in at 224 pounds at a height of 6'1", finished only 3 points behind Ansley, but couldn't quite match Breon's polish, charisma, and shoulder-to-waist ratio. Performance matters, and Ansley's gifted posing and engaging routine earned him the extra marks from the judges. But Bumstead made it close and even thrilled the crowd with a classic vacuum pose. This made prospective future battles between Ansley and Bumstead intriguing and set up talks of an exciting rematch, which was expected perhaps as early as the Arnold Sports Festival the very next year in 2018. That's all for this video, folks. We'll see you another time.